Mine either.
My goal was 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Oh man.
Well, I tell you what, we the committee. I'll make a motion to go on recess to Tuesday then. And me somebody just second and we vote to do it.
And then we're gonna do it at 5. We need to keep coming in on that.
Yeah, we could. If need be.
Ain't later than that.
All right, good morning and welcome to today's County Commissioner meeting. I want to welcome everybody in attendance today and everybody watching on the live stream.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
All right, let us pray.
Dear Lord, we're thankful for your grace and mercy that has allowed us to see this day and all the wondrous things that you have created. For open minds, and Lord, we just pray for the opportunity to make the best decisions in the interest of Anson County and its citizens. And we thank you, Lord, for this Board of Commissioners and everyone here under the sound of my voice. These and all other blessed we ask in your name. Amen.
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 Thank you for that, Mr. Woodburn. All right, first up on the agenda, the approval of the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, first item is discussion of the fiscal year 2025-2026 priorities and budget expectations. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Saltzman and let him start.
If some of you remember when we've had meetings like this before, some of the priorities that were set in the past was to, since we were behind, delinquent, if you will, on our annual audits, was to catch them all up. And as you know now, they are all caught up and we're in good shape. So we need some, whatever your priorities are for this fiscal year going forward, what you'd like to accomplish. And that's up to the board members to enumerate. You know what we've done the last year or two. So I'd like to ask for your board, because I know you hear things that I may not hear when you're out in the public.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I'll start
Please.
this discussion. I'd like to see the county provide every employee a 2.5% COLA if we can afford it.
Okay, well, I was thinking 3, so we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. I said 2.5% because Social Security recipients received 2.5% recently, and that's the official cost of living increase.
Understand.
Yes, sir. And the other thing, I'd like to see the county take a close look at our fees. I'm thinking back to the solar farm rezoning. There was a lot of work put in by the planning department, the planning board, the board of commissioners, and the fee was $2,500. And I just know that we put in more time and effort than $2,500. So I'd really like to ask the county to look at our fee structure, all of them.
Okay.
Those are mine too.
Along with that, I think looking into the COLA, I think blanket raises and blanket COLAs, I'm not against COLAs to an extent, but I would be against a COLA until we can get to the point to where we pay for based off performance reviews for employees. Give raises to employees that do good and excellent jobs. Let's look at performance raises and reviews either quarterly per year or biannually, and then have a set rubric that the manager creates that depends on the performances of that employee, whether they were here on time every day, if they were late for X amount of days per the year, how are they performing their job based on their performance, and things of that nature, and then give raises based off of that. As far as until we can get something in works with a rubric for a potential raise for good performance versus negative performance, I can't support a blanket COLA. But it's not against employees or anything like that. It's just I want the county and the government and us and the department heads to be able to recognize their employees, the ones that do very well, and give instead of something like that versus ones that may be just getting by or far. Recognizing great work ethic amongst employees. that's not something that probably can be created a rubric by June 30th, but maybe at least by January 1st, 2026, have a set rubric standard for performance-based reviews and compensation for that. Or as soon as that's something that we come to an agreement to, as soon as the manager has that drawn up amongst him and the department heads. That's what I think.
Okay. Yes.
Mine is maybe implement getting another QRV for the upper end of the county. I know it's taking a long time to get ordering ambulances, but the QRV will work to where you can do a quicker response and just have the ambulance come when needed. If the QRV can take care of the situation.
You say northern part as in Ansonville area?
Mm-hmm.
So the one in
Okay.
Morton that serves what area?
Morven, going towards Livesville and Gullidge. It goes out.
All live.
Mm-mm.
It's just Morven Fire District, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Manager Nance? That's correct. Yes, Morven. And if we do that, I would like to, I'm not trying to manage that 5 to 74 into the Gullidge area section, and then down further into the Gullidge area. And that's something I think.
Is that 145 in PD or is that 145 in?
Yeah. So where that QRV is stationed right at Morton Fire Department, it can run 145 and hit 74 before Waysboro ambulance gets there, in my opinion. But yes, in essence, 145 in PD. We can broaden that area out, and then if you'd be looking at 3 QRVs in the county then, if you put one on the northern end. I mean, I don't know if it wouldn't be ideal to maybe, if you were gonna spend that money on it, and I don't know, but if you were gonna spend that money on another QRV, maybe get another truck, staff another truck, and that way you'd have that extra truck. If you broke down, maybe put an ambulance down there, down at Morgan.
Well, I think the
Break
problem
those
now,
two QRVs
I
down.
think the problem they're having now is the length it is. Once they order a truck to get is what, 2 years out?
It depends if you get one 2
Mr.
years,
Nance.
3.
3 years.
We ordered one in 2022, that's supposed to now, though, right? Right. But I think, the citizens in Ansonville deserve quicker response times.
Correct.
We have the one in Morven from Wadesburg to Morven is a lot shorter than it is from Fulton to Ansonville.
Yeah.
You shooting past 15 minutes in response times down there, so if we can get those citizens some kind of coverage, then they deserve it, just like everyone else. And you do have a decent call volume up there.
Yes. And I think that's where that conversation should be geared around the call responses, call volumes, on what district, what areas have a lot of the call volume.
And starting at the fire department might be ideal, but I was kind of mapping and looking on maps myself. If there was a way to split that difference between that upper northern part of Burnsville and hitting Ansonville, maybe that's around Eggtown or somewhere around in there, that'd be great, but then you gotta have a building and everything else.
That's right.
But starting at the fire department, if they would be willing to work out a deal with the county, I agree with that. How long would it be for a QRV though?
For the sake of budgeting, well, one, how long would it take to order that QRV, and 2, what would the expected cost be?
Because you're looking at 4 more employees to staff the QRV. The QRV itself, figure 120.
Yeah, probably with everything in it.
And then single employee in EMS, 65 plus 65 base salary plus benefits.
Any other committees?
Chair, I'd like to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
If it's possible that we're not able to give the employees a increase in salary, I would like to look into flexing time. If we can't give them a raise, long as they, some kind of incentive to. But that's after they check to see whether or not we're able to do it.
Okay. So you're saying if we're unable to do a COLA or a raise, look at doing flex time?
Yes.
Okay.
How would that flex time work? Do you know?
Well, the way they did it when I first came here at DSS, you would work 4 days, 10 hours, and then you would either have that Friday off or either that Monday off. They would rotate.
Okay.
Like that.
Y'all rotated, so it would always still have people there during normal
Oh
working
yes.
hours.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's always there.
Okay.
If I may, I've asked a couple of department heads to meet and discuss, because I know in the past when we've talked about things like this, there's been questions about what the department heads think about it. To flex scheduling, and they're looking at a couple of different types. And while we're talking about that versus a COLA, I had been asked by a commissioner to take a look at WAC $1,021,646. A 2.5% would be $638,529.
So can we afford a 2.5% COLA for all employees?
I'm gonna get Mr. Forbes to help me do something right quick, and obviously our finance director is here to answer any questions. But if you would pass these out, please.
I can handle that.
I know you can handle it. You're a scholar and a gentleman. Thank you. But this gives you an unrestricted fund balance look, which I guess would be an affordability index to a degree, given your estimated fund balance that was unrestricted back in 1920 fiscal year, and then our projected one for this fiscal year as we end up in June. And you can see that except for 21-22, we've had a downward trend in our unrestricted fund balance, and the reason it bumped up in 21-22 was because of COVID dollars, as most of the commissioners that were here then will remember. And so what we're thinking is that if we're very fortunate, at the end of this fiscal year, which will be June 30, we'll have roughly $6.5 million of fund balance left. Last year, to balance the budget, we had to appropriate from fund balance about $9 million. We're hoping we don't spend anywhere near that $9 million, so that would give us 6.5 or more.
So I'll repeat my question. Can we afford a 2.5% COLA for all employees, full-time and part-time?
The only way to afford it would be taken out of fund balance, so it would reduce the amount of fund balance by that amount. So that's the straight up answer.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, Miss Berry, what is that in that percentage? Because I think we got to keep 8%. What would that percentage be?
It's around, it's all depending on when the budget ends up being appropriated for next year, because the percentage of the budget, between 13 to 15%. And I think they require us to do it 8%. It's steadily dropping.
Right now, it's projected to be at 13 to 15% without any additions or subtractions. Mr. Manager, can I ask, the 8.9 down to the 6.5, how much was that allocated for any type of capital projects or things of that nature?
Essentially, we've had almost no capital projects for the last several years, with the exception of what we've been spending in water and in wastewater. And as you know, we've got that $8.5 million plus water filtration plant operation going on. That was an appropriation from the state legislature, and obviously we've asked for more appropriations, as Chairman Caldwell can attest. We do have one that's sitting that we got I think $6 million, and we spent part of that already, and that is for the wastewater side.
And you said 2.5% came to how much? 600,000 and what?
2.5 would be 600 and, gosh, what did I say? Give you the exact number again.
Yeah, I want that exact.
$638,529 for 2.5%.
$529. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And projectively, our unrestricted fund balance is projected to be $6.4 million, right?
That's correct.
So roughly, that COLA would be about 10% of what our unrestricted fund balance is.
Round figures, yes, sir.
Yeah. and we need to be at what percentage, Mrs.?
By state requirements for the LGC, we need to be at least 8%, and I'm not sure what that number is. You know it, Holly?
It's 8%. For districts our size, they recommend 25%.
Right. Yeah, so we would still probably be around 8% or a little more. Well, they recommend 25%.
Yes.
Ms. Berry, with all what's going on with finance, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to continue with the recommendation of the LGC, which is to reduce expenditures and not increase our expenditures, or to increase revenue. Because we are supposed to be cutting expenditures, because we're not bringing in the revenue to cover the expenses we have. So I would not recommend any increases, especially, reoccurring expenses. Because you may take it from fund balance this year, but how will I pay for it next year? These are expenses that are not one time, but reoccurring. They're compounded every year, and they cost us more each year because of the increase in benefit costs.
Go ahead.
I guess the one thing that I think we have to be careful about then, if we just put a grant department in place. So we're going to have to be real careful about what kind of grants we go after, because there's a match for a lot of them. And it sounds like we're not going to be able to afford a match.
Yes, sir.
And it also sounds like we're not going to be able to afford a 2.5%
Right,
COLA
yeah.
for our employees, not even a 1% COLA.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Because, $6.5 million, that's not a lot of money for a county of our size, and given the age and condition of some of our structures and buildings.
Yes, sir. I think it's, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, 5 years ago we were at 15.2. 5 years later we're at 6.6 and a half. I mean, that's, you keep going at that same rate, you're not gonna have fund balance.
Yeah.
Well, if we keep going at that same rate, we won't have a county.
That's correct. I think it's important to remember that we give an 11% COLA last year, and if we look back across the state averages, that's double, probably triple what the state average was. So really, we give 3 COLAs in 1 year.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And when I made the recommendation, I said, if we can afford it. And it sounds like we cannot afford it.
Yes, sir. So,
One of our problems, and I think a lot of the commissioners already know, is that our tax base, not tax rate, tax base is not growing.
Right.
We haven't had well, I guess we've essentially had no economic development growth in the county for a number of years. We've had some, as you know, we've had several textile mills that have closed over the last several years, and I don't have to enumerate them. You drive by them when you drive around the county.
yeah. Well, that's where my priorities were at in our discussion. Was one, we need to continue to invest in economic development. That's the driver to funding everything that's been mentioned here today. If we don't build a tax base, we're borrowing money, we're stealing money out of our savings account to pay for it. If we get a tax base bill here, we can start paying for these.
And I know manufacturing plants, and if you read the trade magazines to any degree at all, North Carolina is the #1 manufacturing state, and also #1 for recruiting economic development. And unfortunately, we're one of the counties that's not a recipient of that.
That's correct. One thing in that economic development investment that we need to do, and I know me and the manager have discussed, as well as our economic development director, as a board, we need to sit down and develop a incentive package. In other words, when these industries come to the county, we met with one last week, we've met with a couple over the past few weeks. When they come, they want to say, what can you give us? What can you do for us if we pick Anson County to locate our business? Well, to my knowledge, in years past, we've not done that.
We had an economic development. I mean, we've had an incentive package in place. I don't know if it can be found, but there was one some years back, and it was based on. It was pretty much what you see. What is that company going to invest? How many jobs? And it was graduated over a period of years. It started out as it was a total amount determined, and then it was implemented over a period of years until provided they met
That's right.
the
Performance
guideline.
They have to perform first before they ever get that. So we need to make, if we can't find that, we need to develop a new one.
Right, I agree.
And it needs to be across the board. In other words, the industry provides 30 jobs, they meet this criteria. If they provide 60 jobs, 100 jobs, whatever, instead of coming off the cuff and say, oh, we really like this business, let's just invest in them.
Right.
We need to do it across the board.
I think we should, if we look for the old one, maybe to compare it, but I think we should put one together ourselves for this time frame we're in now.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
proud to hear that, because I'd
Yeah.
like to have you to have a closed session to talk about an economic development issue, because there is a company that's in process now. They have asked for an incentive
Well, we need to create
to help
one.
them complete their project, and I've worked out, and I've actually worked with the state, and what I have put together is acceptable to the state. And what they asked me was last week was when I could get the commissioners to consider it and approve it or not approve it. I told them hopefully today, and they said great. So if you approve it, then I can send a letter to the state with that plan. And I don't want to say any more right now because it's still it's an economic development project that will happen in this county and create jobs as well as additional tax base.
But y'all could see how the process worked. Myself and Lynn came up with an incentive package. Lynn presented it to him, hoping that we would approve it. If we already knew that going in, he would feel more confident saying, here's our plan, here's what we can propose, I feel confident we can offer you this, instead of coming up off the cuff and saying, here's what we want to do, and we hope they'll approve it. So,
Question.
yes, ma'am.
If the county manager and Nick are going around calling people, trying to get people to come in the county, what is Randy doing? Is that not his job?
He should be doing the same thing. I don't know if he's calling people, but
He's doing it, yeah. He is, yeah.
that's what he should be doing.
Now, we're gonna discuss that, right? Something with the economic development at some point. I think
As
that
part of
was
the
on
budget
agenda,
discussion,
but-
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But, to your acknowledgement, yes, that is his job. That's what he's supposed to be doing, and I think he's doing some of that. I don't know what he does every day because I don't follow him. But I do want to point out that economic development is not just one person's job. Right. All of us sitting here can have a hand in economic development. People, resources, companies, you can reach out to them the same as I can. Now we're paying somebody to do it, but you can also help do that as well, as all of us can.
Well, can we not cut the pay? If we all gonna chip in and do it, then why would we give him all that money?
That can be discussed.
Well, I think that's part of the budget that I've expressed. We should take some responsibility in that. That's a $500,000 a year, roughly, that we ain't really getting a return on economically, right? So, and with the COLA, I didn't get my chance to share with this. I support a COLA. However, I think I need to see what the cost would be to provide a pay increase or a COLA for the county employees, excluding those who received the 12.5%, I think, of the sheriff department. And y'all look the scroll, I think that was in 2023 or 22, right? That was a 12.5% and a 2.5% given everybody else. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm at
2 years ago.
2 years ago, right? So I support a COLA for the remainder of employees that's not connected to the departments that got the 12.5% pay increase. And I would like to know what that would cost us, because during that time frame, roughly, when we're looking at the budget and how we are expenditure-wise, I think that gave about 23.5% and to a 13.5%, which was a 10% differential right there. So I think that we should still look at doing a COLA, but do it for the employees that had that 10% difference. Before we say just not do it at all. And as it pertains to this economic development, the AEDC, I think at some point we just say thank you for your efforts, and we should look into doing this economic development ourselves. Because again, as Chairman said, all of us special commissioners, we can make contact with people that we know in business and bring them in and say, hey, would you consider Anson County? And I think it requires some involvement. I have the confidence in our county manager that, hey, and Mr. Addison, let's see what we can get done economically, right? So if you could, at some point, get those numbers to me, what it would cost. Yes, ma'am, please do. Yes, I'm just curious what that amount would be if we gave the, I'd say 3%. If you could do it at 3%, just to be more specific, I guess.
Okay. All right. Any other commissioners with priorities or budget expectations? I will share the same sentiment. I think we should continue to invest in our public safety across the county. That's law enforcement, fire, EMS. I think the citizens' welfare, that's the most important priority that we all should have is making sure our citizens are safe. And if that means investing in an ambulance in the northern part of the county, then we should look at that. I would like to see our sheriff's department try to develop some type of zones or I'd like to see some more deputies spread out across the county and kind of stay there. I know if we have an incident in Morven that's a long way to Peepson or Ansonville or Burnsville, if we could kind of split the county up, make sure we've got police present all the time in these areas, I would like to see us, move toward that direction if possible. Kind of like a substation or divisions or.
We had one at Burnsville at one time. Had a sign out there at least.
Yeah. The other.
Still be going on.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sir.
And just to give you a little back history about the money, as far as for the sheriff's office, that came in to where we was the lowest paid, and we don't want to be ending up like the city had to, and then had to jump up on all that money to come up all that money with incentives to get back hired, plus bring their rate up to ours. Because if you run at a lower rate, people gonna leave. They're not gonna stay. And you gonna run around now trying to find somebody to come in and work.
Right, understood.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just looking out for the entirety of county employees. That's my perspective is that, and I understand that the pay was real low. You got to get it up. I love law enforcement. We need them around here and do what we got to do to hire people and bring them here. But I would say in the other departments, park and recreation is a viable asset to Anson County because we got children here, right? So we can make an investment there. I mean, we can come up with reasons. There's nothing for our kids to do around here, but we have a park and rec department. We can go to DSS, right? Do the percentage of our population that's impoverished. So we know that they're swamped over there working hard because we deal with a population of people where DSS is valid and important, right?
Yep.
We can carry on to our health department. Due to being an impoverished area, you probably have people who don't have a good dietary plan. You have all of these medical conditions that happen in these areas. So I know they're working hard too. But I'm just saying, so when we look at that, before we say no COLA at all, take into consideration that, yeah, we got the sheriff department where they need to be. Maybe need to go a little further. I don't know. But those people that are still out here working that had that differentiality of a 10%, if we could still find a way to let them know you matter too, because I'll say it this way: sheriff department can't take children away from a home. So if an officer's called up to a situation, children have to be removed, they got to call DSS out of their home. So it goes hand in hand. So with this COLA that I'm insinuating, I'm hoping that we could just consider other employees too.
If I could answer your question from earlier, if you do what you're talking about and eliminate those from the sheriff's office that received the 12.5.
Say that again.
If you take out the employees from the sheriff's operation, then the balance would be at a 2.5 would be 556,000. And if you did a 4%, it would be 890,000.
And where would that money come from?
Same
Mrs.
place,
Osborne?
fund balance.
From the fund balance, from the $6.4 million fund balance.
Mhm.
And we've already stated the $6.4 million is bare bones minimum for a county of our size and complexity. So where will we get the money from? Is my question.
The only place, and I know I sound like a broken record, but the county's savings account, if you will, is its fund balance. That's it. The only other way is to ask the state, and I doubt seriously if the state would give us an appropriation to raise salaries. They just don't do that.
So we don't have the
cost.
we don't have the money to give a raise, or we have the money and we're saying we don't need to spend that money.
That's the case. We have some money, and you could technically do it, but if you do, then you're putting the fund balance and the county's financial wherewithal into deeper jeopardy, if you will.
Going to strain the fund balance even further. We're going to go against the FPIC response that we've already given to the LGC, saying that we would cut expenditures.
But I'm having it said this way because I want the people to hear it. You know, it's not just from my understanding.
Yeah.
I get it, but when we're making these decisions, people that are watching, people that are asking these questions, I want them to understand if these employees don't get a raise, they need to know why. You know, yeah, I'm just asking in this way so that they understand as they listen. You know,
Great questions, because I've actually had some citizens tell me within the last 30 days that the county can do whatever it wants to do because it's flush with cash. I don't know where they got that idea. I didn't tell them that.
And there's another concern I have. The $6.4 million, that's an estimate.
Mhm.
What if it's $500,000 or $1 million less than that? I mean, we just need to be very, very careful, as a local government commission has implored us to be.
Especially until next year, at minimum. Get a revaluation.
And I'll just talk from experience. I'm trying to think, I believe it was within the first, I say probably the first couple of years that I was on this board, we were in a situation where we basically had to just shut everything down because we had money, but we didn't have enough to do anything with. And we didn't like it, but I mean, that was the facts we had to face. So basically we just put a hold on all spending unless there was something that was an emergency and there was no other way around it. And we did that for quite a few years until we got the fund balance back in shape. And it looks like we're about to get to that position now. I mean, I don't want to cry wolf when there's not a reason to, but I think we got to really be careful.
Yes, sir. The third part on my priority list was our tax collections. We talk about where we're going to pay for things.
Right.
Well, tax collections, where it comes from. And I know we have our tax administrator here. I hope the investments that we made into the tax department, I hope we're seeing some results from those. If we run this county like a business and we provided the product and we've sold that product and we haven't collected the money, the business ain't going to stay in business for long.
Right.
We've already done that. We've sent the bills out. We've assessed the values. We need to collect the taxes that are owed on that. And so that's a priority that funds everything that we've already discussed here today. So I hope that our tax administrators seeing some results from that investment we made. Any other discussion on the budget?
I think the other thing that we ought to keep in mind, you mentioned tax collections. Anson County is an aging county. So when you've got aged people, you know, they're doing the best they can do, and I think that's why. And I know if you take the paper whenever we advertise the tax liens, there's a bunch of people in there that you say, and I know I say it, I wonder why they ain't paid their taxes, because you know doing darn well they can pay them,
Yes.
but then also there's a lot of people that's just not able.
Yes.
And I think those
those our business, like, and it is imperative for the citizens to understand that is free enterprise of the county. And what I mean by that is it's a commodity that we all must have. However, if we are not investing there, or which literally means, and I think this is a topic of discussion probably at some point, water rates go up and people get upset. But I think that falls within our responsibility, I think, with the LGC as well, that if we're not raising our rates at a certain percentage, it affects our budget. And with the situation our water department is in, I think we're going to have to give some real attention to that as it pertains to water.
Well, and our finance director is still here, and also our utilities director and assistant director. And one thing we've had to do when we talked about the capital projects, that was the question asked earlier, besides getting that appropriation from the state, we also had to appropriate money from the water enterprise fund balance. And we're going to have to do, and we've done the same thing on the sewer side. And those are not as in a good a shape as they were because we've had to do that. And that's what the LGC has told us. We need to, boost up those fund balances as well as our general fund balance, but they also told us we need to take care of our infrastructure. And it's a two-edged sword, because if you spend the money, you're reducing the fund balance. If you don't spend it, your infrastructure is getting worse. So so we're doing that, and but we have no choice, because we've got like a water plant that was built back in the 60s, as most of the commissioners know, and it's in the biggest need of repairs right now, and that's where the biggest dollars are going, if you will, in terms of infrastructure and capital improvement.
I guess I have a question. Are there any new headcount requests, new employees?
We have a few, and I think right now we have, and I think Miss Ingram is here. She can correct me if I misspeak, but I think we've got like 296 approved positions, and I think right now we have 23 vacancies.
Yes, sir.
She's nodding yes.
But any new additional headcounts is my question, Mr. Sussman.
Right. We haven't. Holly and I are still going through it. All the people have just written out to people, department heads. Several of them have requested new personnel. I wouldn't think that number exceeds 10. So I think it's definitely less than 10. And so we'll have to go through it and see which ones we have to have from a critical standpoint.
And where would the money come from to fund those critical new additions?
Still have to come from fund balance.
I guess my opinion, if this was my budget, I'd just put a freeze on any new additions until we get in better shape on our fund balance. I know we reviewed the DSS budget last month. Ms. Jackson presented it to the board, and I said, well, you missed something. No new vehicle and no new head count. And she said, well, first of all, we can make it another year without a new vehicle. And number two, we can't afford, based on what she's heard at the meetings she's attended, we can't afford an additional head count. We could use one or two, but she decided she would hold off for now. And I complimented her, and so did the DSS board, for that mature approach.
Yes. And a lot of our department heads have said the same thing to me, that they understand that that we're not growing, because they all ask me about economic development. They all ask me about our fund balance from time to time. Not necessarily wanting to know the number, but is it healthy or not healthy, and what we can afford and can't afford. And so they've always said that, if we can't hire new people, let's keep the ones we have employed.
All right, any other discussions of budget expectations? Mr. Manager, does that give you what you need?
I think so. I think we've got enough to work with now, and I agree with Commissioner Gatewood's last statement about bit freezing. If you remember, when we got that pick, we agreed that we would freeze capital expenditures and new hires, and so we did that for about 6 to 8 weeks, and that probably helped our fund balance a little. I wouldn't say a lot, but maybe a little, because we didn't spend those funds.
Okay. All right. If nothing else, we'll move on to item 3. Building inspections, chief building inspector. And I don't have any documentation. Some of you may know more about this situation than I do. It's been brought to my attention that our chief building inspector is planning to retiring when end of
next month,
end of May. Yeah. I'm going to ask Mr. Addison or Mr. Manager, whichever one wants to give us some background on kind of where we're at on that.
I'm glad. I'll be glad to introduce Mr. Addison because that's where building inspections actually. Our chief building inspector and plant and all that works for him now. We consolidated that department. If you'll remember, he's actually done an analysis to show over a 3-year time frame. Because there has been some discussion that maybe the chief building inspector is going to go ahead and retire and what that will look like. And then maybe he might want to stay on for some additional dollars under a contractual type situation, or else we just look at another one. And we have been advertising, and so far I think we've got one applicant who has all level 3 certifications that would be needed. We just don't have all of his paperwork yet, but we do have his certifications, which is kind of strange not getting the balance of it in, Commissioner Gatewood. I saw that smile, and I agreed with you when I talked to Miss Ingram. I said, so he hasn't turned in his full application? No. I said, well, why not? And he's currently employed. But if Mr. Addison would like to stand up and give you the down and dirty on the details, he may have a. Oh, yep, he's got the handout. That's good.
So, right now, our chief building inspector has filed his paperwork to retire. He is planning to retire in the next month. So that does create an issue where we need a staff member, or whether on staff or contracted out, that can perform level 2 and level 3 inspections. We have a gap in that certification without him. I know there's been some discussions between that staff member and commissioners looking at a raise for retention to prevent retirement. There are other options should we not go that route. We could look at hiring contractors to perform level 2 and 3 inspections. I can tell you, based on our current development projects within Anson County, we're averaging about 5 inspections of that level a week. Now, some of those can be done in an hour, some may take 2 or 3 hours. So it's just kind of a range. I've spoken to several other counties regarding some sort of agreement or contract basis. There are other staff members in adjacent counties who are interested in contracting to perform the inspection should our chief inspector proceed with retirement. So we could fill that gap with contracts, and we could also contract to our chief inspector should he want to come back on a contract basis as opposed to staying on full time. So there are multiple options, but the graph you've been presented, it kind of shows how we currently stand. Now, granted, I just kept it simple, so I didn't include benefits or COLA or anything like that. But it does outline where our current standing is in terms of expenditures for salaries, how it would be impacted if we provided that staff member with the raise that was proposed, and then how it would be adjusted if we went the contract route. So there's several different options we could take. Any questions?
Question. If we go with a contractor, we know that's going to be an extra cost. Now, can we pass on those costs to the builders?
So yes, one thing, I think it was last month when Holly requested updated fee schedules, we went through and I worked with building inspection staff. We completely rewrote all the building inspection fees for that department. They hadn't gone through a major update in about 10 or 15 years. So we restructured the whole fee schedule, and in fact that'll address some of your concerns regarding fees for solar projects. So that the way the fee schedule has been adjusted will probably absorb the cost of contractors.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Will there be a delay with a contractor as far as getting the inspections done versus having someone in-house for the time being?
Yeah, so state law requires that when a building inspection is requested, it's performed within 3 business days. Now, the contractors I've spoken to who are interested, they'll come in early before they start their regular schedule hours in whatever county they work at, and they're willing to come in after hours because they get off at 4, as well as on weekends. So it won't be any sort of delay. Again, because we have to meet that 3-day statutory deadline.
Is that three calendar days or 3 business days?
3 business days.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
So it looks like. Go ahead. I'm still thinking.
I was just going to ask Mr. Addison while he's there. Our other building inspector, and I know he's gotten certain certifications. He's not at the level 3 yet, which is what's required on some of the more complicated ones. How far away is he, time-wise, as an estimate to get to level 3?
Yes. So our lower level inspector, he has so in building inspections, there's 4 separate trades or categories. You have building, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and each one goes up to level 3. So currently he has probationary level 2 in 2 of the trades. I expect he'll have probationary level 2 in all trades within the next 2, maybe 3 months. We've been pushing really hard. He's been going to classes. There's classes and courses and tests, multiple tests he has to take for each level. So we've been really pushing hard to get him certified. So in, say, 3 months, he should be level 2 in all trades. Now, because of the way the state has it set up, there's a time period before you can get your level 3, so it'll probably be another 1.5 years before he could be fully certified at level 3s. But as he continues to get his level 2s, that'll reduce the need for contractors. There's not a lot of things we have going on right now that require a level 3. There's a big, like a solar facility would be a level 3. Some activities at the school, the new middle school, would be level 3. So there's not a ton of level 3 activity, but there is some.
So basically, the guy we have now in-house could satisfy some of what we have going on.
Yeah, I would say 90 to 95% of our activities in Anson County are level 1. It's that 5 to 10% that are level 2 and 3s.
But my question is, if he's willing to stay for the 1.5, 2 years for the other one to get his level 3,
yes,
$10,000 to me would be cheaper than going out paying like an option 3, $48,000.
Yeah, I just presented multiple.
I understand that, but I'm just saying it just seemed like to give him that range just to stay till he gets the rest of his certification, which luckily we went on and started this process earlier than we did, because we would have been behind the 8 ball if we wouldn't have. So technically it looked like we're only 1.5 years behind him getting everything he needs.
Yes, that is correct.
And the chief building inspector now is currently doing all the stuff versus us having to wait 3 days. He can go ahead and do it. I just feel like it should just stay the same and give him that raise and let him stay the 1.5 years to the other guy finishes level 3.
I was going to say, if he want to retire, we can let him retire. If 95% of what we're doing, the other guy that's getting certified can do it, and if it happens to be a level 3, we utilize a contract and pass off that cost to those that are getting the inspection. So then we don't pay $10,000. We still have a guy in-house, and we don't have any payment to make due to the fact that if we need a level 3 inspection, we got contractors to do it, and we pass that fee on to those we're doing it for.
Yes, and as it is right now.
Yeah, so there's no need to pay an extra $10,000.
But the school has already paid, so their fees wouldn't count under this. And that solar farm that's going out on 109 North, if they've already been permitted, then it hasn't.
No, sir.
Okay. What about the school and their level 3 portion?
They've already been permitted, yes. So yeah. And like I said, he's already filed his paperwork. So if we do go back and provide some sort of a retention package,
and I'm saying
he's
money
going to have
wise,
to back out of that.
I'm saying financially, there's no need to pay to keep it. If we can pass the fee on to whoever is needing his level 3 inspection, let him ride off in the sunset and enjoy his life, and we just make the other people pay for when we need a level 3 inspection, because the gentleman we have can do all the other ones, correct?
For the bulk
level
of
two,
it, yes.
yeah.
For the
So-
bulk of it, yes.
So if he can take care of those, I don't see the need to invest any money. You know, to make a payment. I mean, there's just no cost to us.
The key here is to go ahead, if we move on, if Keith retires and we promote the next guy in line, the key is we've got to hire that replacement so they can go ahead and can start working on their certifications. So in 5 or 6, 7, 10 years, we're not in the same boat again.
And that's already factored into
Yes.
the
Right.
proposal options I've given you to go ahead and get a new staff member and start getting them trained. That way we're not in this issue in
Yes.
5 or 10 years again.
Yes. So,
But I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it is up to Keith, the staff member. If he wants to stay on with a retention package, that's great. If he wants to come back as a contractor, we can still contract to him. We don't have to utilize other contractors. From a management standpoint, I think it's best to have multiple contractors we can call on, because if I call on contractor A and he's on the lake fishing that day, I need somebody else I can call because we have that 3-day time window. And so we can contract to whoever, and Keith could be one of them, which, if he wants to do that.
What is that contract rate?
That's one thing I'm still working out. The ones I've received are looking at $75 an hour.
But again, it won't matter because we're going to pass that fee on.
Why would it matter on the $10,000? Because you've already got the fee involved in it anyway, so that money's just going right back into that line item in your fees. That's not going to really matter.
Well, I'm not making a case for somebody to stay.
I'm not.
I mean, not you. I'm not saying you, but I'm just.
Question. It's the same thing. You're still talking about money. We won't be paying the money anyway because of the fee structure.
yeah. The fees are already built in, whether it's going to Keith or whether it's going to the new guy.
You're not paying that anyway.
Right. That's my point. So, what's the purpose of paying a retention package?
I don't think we have to pay a retention package. I'm thinking that.
I think that's what his request was.
No, I'm thinking that if the chief inspector, Keith Gaskins, is willing to work as a contractor, then we work with him because he's already here and he's available. And at the same time, if you want to get somebody else that's available, say if Keith said, "Look, I'm going off somewhere next week. I'm not going to be available," then you got somebody else to fall back on. I think that's going to be the best avenue to take.
Right.
And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I need to ask to be excused because I've got to go out to Columbus, McKinnon. So.
Okay. So, thank you. So do we need to take action on this, or I guess technically
some of these were proposals by commissioners, so I were just putting things together. So it's at your pleasure. Like I said, he has filed his paperwork, so if there is going to be some sort of retention package that would incentivize him to stay, as a courtesy to him, we should let him know so that he can redact his paperwork or whatever the process is. I can't speak to that. I'm nowhere near retirement. So.
And that's kind of
why should it be a retention package? Why not just put the question to him? Would he be willing to work as a contractor once he retires?
Again, that's my whole point. If a person has filed their paperwork to retire, we don't need to incentivize him to stay.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
So if he wants to go and enjoy the rest of his life, I don't think we need to get in the way of that. And we have other options and methods that we can take care of our building inspection.
That's why I'm saying, see if he's willing to work as a contractor, which he comes when we need him. He's not here every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've talked to quite a few people over the years that, they retired and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, and they want something to keep them busy.
Well, I mean,
I wasn't one of them, but
unfortunately, I wouldn't know that.
And then, but he's going to need, the county is going to need those options for contractors. So, if he's willing to be one of them, I definitely agree with you on that.
And we're not unique in this situation. Montgomery just went through the same thing a little over a year ago. They lost all their staff and had to contract out for about 9 months. It is a tough position to fill. We do have 2 applicants in right now. The position has been posted for a little over 30 days. We've got 2 applications in. We'll be reviewing those here soon. So we're trying to keep the ball rolling so we don't have any gaps of service.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the, it's not necessarily, like as Nick said, it's not unique to us. Montgomery's been through it. I'm talking to county managers, the city managers across the state, and actually in other states, same thing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them will work a year or two at one place, and then they all of a sudden see a greener pasture open up because they're paying $10,000 or $20,000 more a year because they're a larger place. They jump ship.
So is this something we have to take?
The way I envision this is if we have no action taken, then Mr. Gaskins, it's up to him if he wants to retire. He leaves his paperwork in. The only thing we would do is if we wanted to take action to prevent that or to discuss with him. But I think I'm hearing from the board that.
Excuse me for because I'm getting ready to go. I don't think we need to prevent him from retiring. He's indicated he wants to retire at the end of May. That happens. But there's nothing wrong with having a discussion about him if he's willing to come back on a contractual basis.
And we've had that discussion,
but that's not an action we take.
Right.
No words yet.
Right.
That's.
Yes,
we would have to
that's
take
a discussion
action.
I've had with him prior to this option 2 coming forward, and he was interested in coming back as a contractor to kind of help us fill the gap.
Okay.
But that was prior to option 2 being put on the table.
Yeah, I think that the only action that you would need to take today would be if you wanted to offer a retention package.
Yeah, so we
do
don't
not
have
want to offer that, then everything stays just like it is, and we'll just keep moving on.
Gotcha.
I think that's what we should do then. Let's let it stay like it is.
Okay. Any other discussion on the building inspector? Okay. All right. Go.
Well, we're about to finish it. I can stay.
No, we got several more items to go.
I need to be excused.
You Mike can go and come back.
I'll check with you then.
We'll wait for you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, animal control contracts with the towns.
Yes. As you'll remember, and Mr. Ross is here to defend himself. He's the town manager in Wadesboro. But they were the only ones that came forth and had a contract for animal collection services, if you will. And of course, they asked to be billed for those previous services for the last several years that had not been paid. The other towns have not, so we have not sent an invoice out. Is that correct, Holly?
Correct.
Okay. And so the question today is, should we send an invoice out, a request for payment to the other towns? And I can just, I don't know if you got the information, but like Peachson, for instance, they paid a couple. They would owe like $2,358. Lylesville, $3,427. Morgan, $2,949. Polkton's the biggest because of the prison, if I'm not mistaken. That's over $17. Ansonville, $3,026, and McFarland, $813. So my question is do you want us to bill them for that and to continue those services and try to have Mr. Forrest put together contracts based on the ones that we had with Wadesboro, or what is your pleasure?
Are these amounts based off of the contract that the town presented?
They're based off the contract. I think it's $1 a citizen.
$1
per person in those towns, which is the same as that Wadesboro had when Mr. Ross came a month ago and said, "Yeah, we've got a contract." 'Cause we didn't have it anywhere.
That's right. So, and that's my question. Right. So, is there a contract with each of these other municipalities?
I haven't found one, and no other municipality has said they have one.
Because I'm going to have a hard problem with. Even though we got a contract with the town of Wadesboro, we don't have a contract with the town of Peachson, so why would Peachson pay for this service?
Right, that's why I'm asking the question.
Can't bill them without a contract.
That's right. So now Wadesboro, he presented a contract, we've got it, and we can discuss that. But I think going forward, if we want to set up a contract with these municipalities.
Have you made contact with some of them? Or
some of them, yes. And that's the other side.
And they agreed to it?
They haven't, no.
Oh, okay.
That's the other side of the issue, is do we want to create contracts going forward for all the other towns? And if you do you want to do it for $1 a person or $2 a person, or do you want no contracts at all?
I think that was like something in the statute that said $1 per capita or something like that, wasn't it?
I have no idea where.
Yeah, I think the general statutes, I don't know if you could just charge like whatever. I think it was like $1 per capita.
Can we pay the town of Wadesboro $1 per capita and them do the animal control?
No.
Mr. Ross, he's shaking his head in the negative, not the affirmative.
Well, if it's fair for us, why wouldn't it be fair for them?
Would you like to speak on that, Mr. Ross?
I think it's going to be the county. You brought it up. That's a good question.
I'm just asking.
What is he gonna ask?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So I'm asking, in your contract that we have with the town of Wadesboro, it says right here, the town of Wadesboro will pay $1 per capita per population. So that's $1 per person in the town of Wadesboro. So I'm asking, can we pay the town of Wadesboro $1 per person for every citizen in the county? And you do animal control.
No, the town of Wadesboro, I would take it to my board. We're not interested in doing animal control. Typically in North Carolina, counties, they control animal control. So Anson County is no different than any other county. Small towns like Wadesboro do not have the resources to do that, sir. No, we do not.
Well, we were going to give you the resources. We're going to pay you per person.
Yeah, again, that would be a board issue.
Yeah.
I would take it back
And
down,
that's what I'm asking.
But I would recommend that they not do that.
Okay. Obviously, the county can't provide animal control for $1 per person. So for $5,000, the county can't provide that. We're losing money. The county's funding that if that's the case. I don't know that that's a very good. I do know that's not a very good contract for the county to enter into for $1 per person to provide animal control for the town of Wadesboro or for any other town. Obviously, if Wadesboro had to hire somebody, you can't hire somebody for $5,000, can you?
No, sir.
No, sir. So I think we have to come to an agreement on what that number looks like before we can agree to fulfill this contract.
What I can do is ask our animal services director.
We've got a hand waving it. I guess that's animal control, marine.
She's in the back, but she may have a number off the top of her head, or she may need to do some research. I'm not sure which, but choice is hers.
If I can interject real quick, so can I have a question? Just real quick. So what has the county been doing in the past? This is not new, folks, right? Animal control services have been offered by this county for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not new.
That's right.
And yes, it's a problem. We need to come to some sort of solution for it. We have a big time problem in Wadesboro with these animals and the dogs, and cats and what have you. So we're definitely willing to work with the county to try to resolve the issue. But it's not a new issue. It's been going on for years. And the fact of the matter is that there's been a contract since 2017, right? And that hasn't been adhered to in terms of, we are still enforcing our ordinance and calling animal control, and they don't come. Yes.
I'm going to interject here. So we do come. But when that contract was entered into by those former commissioners and that, the town also put in their own ordinances saying that they would hire their own animal control officer, and what we would be responsible for was picking up the animals. They would enforce the ordinances, they would try to relocate owners, they would try to do all this stuff that they put into effect, and then when they couldn't, then we would house the animals at the animal shelter. That's what the agreement was.
Yeah,
Black and white, you guys all have copies of it, I've sent it multiple times, that's what the agreement was.
yeah. My officers tell me that they call all the time, and there's no animal control officer available. So that's what they tell me.
December, we have
Yeah.
not had animal control officers.
That's right.
So then her comment is incorrect. So they're not coming.
Since December.
Correct.
Yeah.
If there's nobody there.
Yep. So I can understand why we can't hire somebody if we're only being paid $5,000 a year to employ them.
And can I interject again? So we just had this criminal case with the sheriff's office. Sheriff, how many officers went out there to that scene? And how many animal control officers do I have?
Currently, you have 0.
So with my one animal control officer, how are we supposed to handle a case like this?
Yeah.
Plus take care of all the Wadesboro's loose dogs and, that are supposed to be registered at the Wadesboro Town Hall, and all these other problems. I mean, it's unrealistic.
That,
We would have never been able to do this without working with the sheriff.
yes, ma'am.
Well, we've responded to several cases where our officers have responded as well, 4 or 5 deep as well, right? So it's just not the sheriff's office. Again, this is an ongoing problem that has not been addressed, right? And so now we want to say, hey, we need to do something, but I would look at best practices across the state, right? what do they do? What do other counties do?
The town of Hamlet has their own animal control officer. City of Monroe has their own animal control officer. City of Rockingham has two. Richmond County has animal control officers for the county. City limits has two animal control officers that work inside the city limits of Rockingham. It's not unrealistic for towns like Wayfair to have their own animal control officer.
So the ones that work in the city limits, like you said in Richmond County,
Correct.
are they employed by the city or the county?
They're employed by the city. Hamlet has their own for Hamlet, and then the county has their own animal control officer.
Monroe partners with Union County, sir, and so
Sheriff-
some of those municipalities, they do partner with counties to have a specific officer for that purpose, right?
City of Monroe has their own officers,
That's
and then
great.
Union County has their own animal control that falls under the sheriff's.
Yeah, and I would love to have the city of Monroe's resources as well.
Yes,
I
sir.
like to have their budget.
Yeah, absolutely. Correct.
So,
So, but yeah, so,
want $1 million.
Mr. Chairman, we will definitely work with the county any way we can. This is an ongoing problem. Maureen is absolutely correct. We do need to tighten up in terms of our ordinance, in terms of registering these dogs, getting these dogs to register, chipping them and everything. So that is in place. We are trying to do that. But we just came upon the contract a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, we presented to you guys. So
The county's been providing free microchips for Anson County residents for the last 4 years. We offer at least four clinics a month, so people in the county can register their pets, with microchips. I started doing it, kind of moving towards this long-term, sneakily, so I could keep a tab on who has pets in the county. It's a great resource to have anyway, especially if you travel and take your pets places. But that's why we started providing free microchips. I have grant money that the county got, through Petco Foundation, and that's what we use to pay for the microchips. And then usually I have veterinarians that come in and do pro bono work for us at clinics and that, and we put them in. So yeah, we've been microchipping animals in this county. I have a dog at the shelter right now, 2 dogs at the shelter that have microchips that we put in during our free microchip program. So, I mean, I've been going to the town for the last 6 years, you know, saying, hey, we need to be working on this, hey, we need to be working on this, but we haven't gotten anywhere, and unfortunately, I'm one person, so.
yes, ma'am.
and she did, when I first came on board, she did reach out to me and she made it aware of what the issue was.
Okay. So, well, yes.
Well, Ms. Lake, like anything else, what is the problem you think it is for us not having an animal control officer?
Salary, I think salary is part of the problem. I had somebody tell me yesterday, he says he has 16 years experience and he thought he was gonna walk in here making $63,000 a year, and I laughed at him. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I laughed at him, because I run the whole department and I've been doing 3 people's jobs since December, and you know, that's unrealistic. I mean, you can look at my salary, I mean, and I do a lot of work, I put a lot of hours in, and I'm, you know, if he thinks he's coming in making $63,000 a year walking in off the street, you know, we're not paying what other places are paying, and it's a dangerous job. I mean, who wants to go and get dog bit or attacked by a dog? Let's be honest. They don't have guns. We go out to the
What is her salary?
Sheriff's Department does usually.
Probably around 60
You know, they don't, I mean, we go out, we pick up people's dogs when that makes people upset and they get mad just like they do when you go out to serve a warrant or anything else. You know, who wants to come race their life over dogs? That's what people think.
Now you're
You know what I mean?
you're the director, right?
I am.
Animal control director.
And shelter director. I run the shelter.
Right. So what is your salary? If you
It's right over $60,000 a year. I started out almost 10 years ago at $34,000 a year.
that's right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I just want to know. I should make that question.
I think,
It is. Yeah, that's fine. That's public anyway. We got to invest some money there, basically to get some interest there. That's, and I've been saying this since the problem come up, because I have people come from town of Waysboro, because people that vote for me in the Waysboro area, and some live in the town, and this animal control thing keep coming up, you know, one way, this way, that way, this way, and eventually we got to find a way to work together, make an investment there some kind of way. We need to be able to bring somebody, some young man, I guess, or lady that has an interest in getting in that van, going around picking up these dogs. And
We hired somebody, and she lasted a day and a half.
yeah, well, that I again, we're talking about risking your health and your well-being now, because dealing with dogs that's a whole nother ball game there. So,
It takes a special person to work in it.
well, and it's going to take some money. I mean, you're going to have to be able to pay somebody fairly to do it. That's all I'm saying. Nobody's going to get in a van going being a dog catcher, risking their safety is what I'm saying with the amount of money that we're willing to pay.
Okay. I don't know what the board's pleasure is. I think we're going to have some more discussions, mainly with the town of Wadesboro, on what the contract looks like going forward. I don't know that it's in the county's best interest to. I know the bill has already been sent to Wadesboro for the $30,000 or give or take. I don't know that it's the county's best interest to collect that. I think we need to have a discussion on that as far as going forward, what the contract looks like.
I think we should go ahead and get that money.
I'm sorry?
I think we should go ahead and receive that money. Get it. We should bill them for, because at the end of the day, that's an agreement that was in place prior to.
Mr. Ross is arguing that we did not do the service, so should we bill for something we didn't do the service for?
We did not do the service?
Well, he says.
We did,
I don't.
We
so,
did the service up until he got here.
Yes. So
I'd say that on
there's a
behalf of the
contract
county.
now.
How do we know?
Mr. Gable, you've been on council a long time, and some folks have been here their whole life. You tell me, was it fulfilled or not? I don't.
Yeah, we had some. What was this gentleman's name? I just had someone tell me his name. He may have retired. I don't know, but he was our animal control. I don't know how long.
We've had a couple.
Well, I'm talking about our director prior to your coming. Yeah.
Oh, it's been me for the last.
How long?
Almost 10 years.
Oh, okay. I know this has always been a county thing, but has these services been fulfilled? I thought they were.
They were up until we.
Up until
didn't have an
December.
animal control officer.
And that's something you
And how long
can't
was
help.
that?
So you
When was
can't
that?
base it on the part if you got a person or not.
Yeah, go get it. It's $30,000
doesn't
that we're
matter.
entitled to.
Yeah, it doesn't
Whether we move forward or not. It's $30,000.
I don't think we should do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to write off.
Right. You write it off
What, write off the?
from December to now.
But even.
No, we just received what we're.
Bossman called me one night and I took an animal control truck home because they had a complaint in Wadesboro about a dog and I took a truck home to go out. So we've been providing what we can service-wise.
Right.
But I mean, if we don't have somebody to manage dog traps and things of that nature, we can't inhumanely trap dogs if there's no one to go back out and get the traps. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Then we're committing, crimes that we can be.
I guess if I make a recommendation here, or if there's some way to take action on anything, there's two things. One, I would suggest that we send a bill and receive the compensation based upon this contract. Two, we should consider our animal control department, and I know what we're saying about unrestricted fund balance, but we're just talking about maybe doing an additional $30,000 to whatever we got to do to convince some people to come and take this job at some point, or either we're going to have to hand it off to somebody. At the end of the day, I'm not looking at county, town, right? People in Linesville shop in Wadesboro. They go to restaurants. People in Morven and Peachland and Polkton. Everybody comes to Wadesboro. That's at some point. Right? If we have dogs out here and they're posing a threat, whatever we got to do, we need to do that. Right? That's just all it is to it.
Well, it's just like anything else. If not, then you cancel the contract make it feasible for all the towns to come into the same contract and adjust it to pay that salary.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And then
You do not even take the $30,000? Not even take the money and just cancel the contract, end the contract, renegotiate another contract that's going to account for the new employees you're going to have to hire to fulfill this contract.
I agree with that. But the only reason why I said go ahead and bill them is because it was a contract in place.
Well,
And even in the new, because at some point we had to deal with the call and the haggling in some kind of way. I mean, it was a contract in place. And if we're going to still move forward, like you said, with an updated one, still get compensation for that one that was in place,
This is,
Yes, ma'am.
They have billed them at their request. So they have received the bills for the prior years that they have.
Okay, wonderful. Well, so we don't even have to take action on that then. So the bill is sent.
Have they paid it?
Not today. I looked today.
How long have you billed them?
Probably last 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks ago. It's just been recent.
About 2 weeks ago. But no, and my question was, is Wadesboro asked to be billed, and so that's why Ms. Bush-Borges sent the bill to them. And what I'm asking now is, do we want to do the same thing with the other towns, or do we want to do something totally different, as Commissioner Ellery's talking about, and come up with a different one based on a different amount that might be more appropriate? And at the same time, what I'd like to do is, because I think you're headed in this direction, and I know you'll tell me if I'm not right. No doubt, that's no problem. But I could get our HR department to take a look at surrounding areas, counties, if you will, and see what they're charging, what they're paying their animal control director as well as the other employees in the department. If you prefer to do that, we can have that back to you before you adopt the next budget.
That'd be great.
Okay. I'll go along with that. Because honestly, when we first started about budget predictions and all that, one of my things on my list that slipped my mind was animal control. Let's be honest, you had vacancies. That's money, I don't see her.
She said.
Oh, sorry, I just can't see you for the podium. I mean, it's been vacant since December. We're going on half a year. People ain't gonna work unless they get what they think. I mean, that's a department that is needed for the county, whether it's for the town of Wadesboro, Burnsville, Morgan, White Store, anywhere. If we need to just pay, we gotta just pay, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's on the budget and everything like that. We're trying to be as conservative as we can with this budget, but we gotta have animal control in the county as a whole, is what I'm saying. I care about Wadesboro, don't get me wrong, but the county as a whole has to have animal control too. And Miss Maureen, she can't keep doing what she's doing.
That's part of the issue is we hire one animal control and they're going to be overworked with the municipalities and the county.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, where do we come to an agreement with all municipalities? I don't want to just single.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's why I don't.
Agreement with all municipalities, whether that's now Fulton, you go for Fulton too, but I feel a little bad for covering per capita for population for the population of the prison.
I don't think they can have both.
But they're getting tax money for the prison, the inmates.
They sure do.
They're getting tax money for them.
Like the state.
The state gives them money.
The state give them money. Yeah, the state. They got it.
And Miss Maureen, what'd you say?
I said we do work with the prison. They bring us a bunch of feral cats.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
So
we
I
are
just-
taking animals from the prison.
But you're exactly right. I retract that statement.
Yeah, they bring tax revenue. So I really feel like either A, we accept the money, or B, we end the contract, and then we sit down and negotiate another contract.
I got a question. If the other towns don't have contracts, how did you come up with the money they owe?
Based on the same stuff that we did with Wadesboro, $1 per person.
Oh, okay.
Now you said you said Linesville.
She said she would pay it.
How much?
I think he said it was $3,000.
Yeah,
And as Ms. Borges said, some of the towns were paying on the same basis already. They paid 2 or 3 years or 4 years, and that's why those different numbers were based on their population versus vis-a-vis the years they didn't pay.
Well, I talked with the mayor of Linesville, and she
Across the county, there was a contract.
Yeah. Mayor Bennett did tell me that.
They don't want to deal with the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send the bill out.
Okay, we can do that.
So that brings up the problem. Yes, we can create a new contract. The problem is to get out of this contract with the town of Wadesboro, we got to give 365-day notice. If we collect their money, we're on the hook for 365 days to provide it for $1 a person. I don't think it's wise for the county to collect that money. We can cancel the contract today. We can revamp the contract and enter into a new contract and an agreed upon price for all municipalities and move forward. But if we collect their money, we're back in compliance with the contract and we're on the hook for 365 days. Because it's a 365-day notice to get out of it.
Well,
I think
we got to send. Oh, you saying at this point the contract is null and void?
It's null and void because they're not paid.
That's not true. The last time we paid was 2021, so we have been paying, and that's in those years of the contract. So if you do something with the contract, that's going to be something for the attorneys to.
That's right, but it hasn't been paid in the past 4 years, so you're in breach of the contract, which would give us a clause out of the contract.
Yeah, I'm not an attorney, so that's a legal interpretation.
I've discussed with our attorney. We have that already, is what I'm saying. We don't need to, if we collect the money, we're back in contract.
I think Miss Maureen said that it ended December. I would certainly want to fact check that and make sure that that's true because, again, you got to, you had a contract.
I agree. So, which is another reason why I don't know that we should collect the money because if we didn't know we had a contract, were we doing the job?
I'm gonna err on the conscience. I'm gonna err on the side of no, you were not doing the job.
Okay. So that's why there again, I don't know that it's in our best interest to collect that money. I think we should start a new contract and move forward with a new contract.
Why don't we just move this into closed session?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, my suggestion
I agree.
is they haven't paid since 2021 and they don't think we're doing a good enough job and the contract's null and void, I would say you guys just revamp the contract.
That's
coming from me. Because we're not doing a good enough job. You know what I mean?
I agree. That way we can sit down at the table
Sir,
and come up with a new contract.
I'm not saying you're not doing a good enough job. I'm saying that I've been bombarded with citizens at my council meeting saying that the dogs are running wild. So I'm not saying that. The citizens are. As a matter of fact, she was involved in coming to the council meeting a couple months ago with a bunch of folks who said that we were not doing our job. Turns out we had a contract with the county.
But you're not doing your job enforcing your town ordinances. You have town ordinances that are supposed to be enforced.
So for the sake of this, like that's what I don't want it to be is like a back and forth thing. And I think we could discuss this maybe in closed session, like Commissioner Mills said. I think that might be best. And
the town council.
The
town council is willing to, certainly look at the contract and see how we can resolve this issue.
Okay.
But let's just, I guess from our standpoint is that, we did have a contract. We found one. No one seemed to think that there was a contract. We were bombarded with all these issues with this dog from everybody. And then we find a contract. Oh, wait, let's stop the contract. No, let's work this out. That's what we need to do.
I agree. We got to come to a resolution on how to move forward with the contract.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So,
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. We'll continue that discussion in closed session on the contract negotiation. Next up, item 5, uniforms.
That's an item that Commissioner Mims asked me to put on because he likes the fact, and I think maybe it's the fact that it's an identifier. A lot of us wear these shirts. Commissioner Little Reed's got one on now. Hers is orange, mine's white. And a lot of employees have them, but there's some employees in different departments that might not be having that affordability index to do it. So he's thinking about the possibility of this board approving buying those. Not really, I said uniform because it's like a county emblazoned shirt, if you will.
Yeah.
Got me a little pen.
So what's the proposal?
The proposal to give at least 3 uniform shirts to water department, the ladies that take in the money, the DMV tax collection, to where they're all in unified same, because those are the ones that see in the public.
What about DSA?
But I guess the front staff, it wouldn't be not the working staff, the front staff.
We have to go get our clients and bring them to the back or even the conference room. Whenever somebody comes out. But I was just saying, if you're gonna do some in the county, you might always do it all.
And if you do it all, what is it going to cost the county?
What? Do we know what?
It was a minor amount. We just don't. We just.
We didn't want to pay for this.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
So we don't. We don't know what the cost
No,
is.
I don't know. I was only talking about it should have been no more than 15 employees at the most. So I don't know what it would be when you add all the whole DSS and all. This is just the people that the citizens come and see on a daily basis, not going to the back. I'm just the one that's paying the money, the DMV, tax collection, tax assessor, and the water department to pay their water bill. Those are who I was talking about. I didn't really think about the going into the back of DSS. Yes.
Right, or the health department,
Yeah.
or other
If
departments.
it's $100 for 3 shirts, and how many employees you got?
Is it 100 for 3?
Yeah, 100 for,
Yeah.
I said 100 for 3.
3. Yeah.
You got what, 296?
Employees at DSS?
How many?
$30,000.
It's 2. No, it's about
If you
50.
got all employees.
It's 60.
About 60, right?
Yes, right at 60 employees.
Child support.
That's gonna be
$30,000.
7 over there.
$6,000.
Child support.
Okay, yeah.
Just round.
For the,
What?
Give you a hard number.
just so we talking about church like Commissioner Rita, is it for
Yes.
identification or is it for?
Yeah, he was saying like people that
I
sit
was-
out front, like in the windows, and I mean, like would collect money or stuff like that.
Yeah. That was my thing for the uniform appearance. That's why I didn't even think about y'all in the back. It was just for the uniform appearance.
And it's just, when you can wear something like this and just put on some khakis and slacks, it's convenient instead of having,
I love uniforms, I gotta pick what I gotta wear.
That's right.
It's up to the board. I mean, that was just my thing of thinking.
So what's the board's pleasure on the uniforms?
How is that going?
If it-
How would that affect the personnel? I mean, would they be appreciative of it, or they?
Well,
What about, doing a check with employees and see who's interested and who's not interested? Cause if you do those and then, DSS workers like, well, why they paying for theirs and not paying for that? Cause there's always gonna be an issue with that.
now
Well, I thought your DSS workers, they dress up. I just wanted everybody that's in uniform formation to be for the ones that's collecting money for the county.
out front.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was saying y'all normally dress up and wear what you want. Why? I
You
understand.
dressed up today.
And he said about how many? That'd be what, about 10?
I would say about 10 because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
You see, you include everybody downstairs.
maybe 13. Yeah.
And would they get like 3? Was it 3 different kinds of shirts? I guess
Colors.
3 different colors. So they would get 3 per employee.
But don't they already have some?
Some of them do and some of them don't.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
So that be we're just talking about $1,300, right? $1,500.
Yeah. Some of them do and some of them don't. But it's just to make sure the ones that collect the money that's in the public every day should be in a uniform.
You think we got $1,300? Can we squeeze $1,300 out? $1,500 to get?
I would think departments can find it within their current budget allocation. That's
Oh.
my recommendation.
That's what I do at Parks and Recreation, I take it out of my current budget.
Uh.
It's, I have a line item for that.
Miscellaneous or something, maybe. A line item, that's good.
So do we need a motion for that to let them take it out? I guess if they don't have it in their allocation, then
Be specific what departments.
I think that can be worked into the budget, overall budget.
The ones you're speaking of would be what, water department,
water department,
taxes.
tax assessor, and I guess what is Miss Diane in the back? That's still part of tax assessor. The from the Larry department. Is that the same thing?
Collections and assessment.
Collections, yeah, collection assessment, yes.
Mr.
That's
Reynolds,
it.
I think the department heads for those departments could certainly find the funds to buy the shirts.
I just think it looks more uniform if they
Oh,
all
sure,
wearing the same shirt.
absolutely.
Now, if you want to, we can make it. I don't know if that would be that detail. Make it some kind of policy that they had to wear it, but
No.
I don't know if you want to do
No.
that. I'm just saying.
I think we leave it up
I'm
to
not.
the
No,
department
what I'm
heads.
saying. I ain't getting carried away. I'm saying that the people in the optics. I mean,
If you
that's
make
the
it a
only way to
policy,
do it. That's too
then
much.
you're probably gonna have to provide.
It's too minute.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I just think they should find, the department heads need to find it, just for the ones that sit in the front. I think they should have the shirts looking uniform for the public to come in and who they're dressed to talk to.
And I think it's a nice touch for those customer service
Yes,
representatives.
that's correct.
Those that are interfacing with citizens on a constant, ongoing basis.
That's correct.
But the department heads should certainly be able to find the funds.
For a small amount.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item 6, contract for the 911 dispatcher with the town of Wadesboro.
And I put that on there because obviously the current one runs out. Matter of fact, June 30 of 2025 this year. And I know we have been talking about it. Mr. Forbes has been talking to the working of that with the other attorney for the town, and he may have some updates on it for you if you don't mind.
I do.
If you can give us.
I've been speaking with Mr. Bates about this matter, and it seems to be a very simple solution to the extent that I believe the agreed upon price was $145,000, where the town would contribute that, and in return, the county would be responsible for using those funds to hire at least two people. The last, I've sent that to Mr. Bates. He was in Mexico last week, and he just returned he's in a mediation now, but he did look at he did contact me a little while ago. The contract, he would like it to be from 2 years to 4 years, or to 5 years, and go along with that. Basically, and there's a little more detail to it than this, but these will be 2 employees of the county, specifically the sheriff's department, because that office, I said department, I meant office, because that office runs the communications department. There'll be 2 people to take on the task there. They will be assigned general tasks for the dispatch, as I understand it from the sheriff. That's the sheriff's office decision. Basically, the town is contributing $145 a year for these 2 positions.
145,000.
That's what I meant.
But what's but with COLA, and I know you said now from 2 to 5, but with COLA, what's going to happen with the different amounts? Anything in the contract for that?
There has not been anything, and that's what I was going to bring up. Well, it's just because they didn't bring it up. That was what we had talked about. If that is one of the things that the manager and I were discussing, if it was only 2 years, the COLA probably wouldn't be that big of a deal.
We could eat that.
However, if it goes to 5 years, there maybe have to be some type of additional compensation on that. That is not something that we had discussed previously. I will be glad to discuss that with Attorney Bates and see what the town says about it.
Even without the COLA increase, there's always being cost of benefits, because retirement health insurance goes up every year. So I would definitely recommend some type of incremental increase each year of the contract to cover our costs. Whether it's 3%, 5%, whatever we come up with, I would recommend some type of increase.
145 is what I was told was the number, and that's the reason we've been working on that number. It was like 143 something, and I just rounded it up to 145.
Well, I get that, but I mean, like she's saying, next year, what is it going to be if insurance and everything goes up? It still needs to be somewhere allotted in there for that. Whether it's just that they're going to pay the difference and you give them the amount, or do it. It don't really matter how, but we don't need to catch that cost, that additional cost.
Yes.
Comment. See if they would, if we did it for 5 years, match the COLA that the county, if the county initiates the COLA, match the COLA plus 1% for each year after the first year. COLA plus 1% for each year if it hits 5 years.
Would that cover the insurance raises or anything? Would that 1%?
The retirement typically has been going up the last couple of years, 1% every year. Just
You're not,
retirement alone.
you're right. That 145 will not cover the entirety of those 2 employees, because your local government retirement system, your insurance and all that. I mean,
It's all that's included.
Yeah,
oh, is
it's
that-
covered.
is it-
For the first year.
Yeah.
For the first year. So that's why we're trying to figure out what the escalator clause should be for years 2, 3, and so forth.
Well, we really don't know today.
Right.
I think we need to put a clause in there that says the contract will be increased annually based on COLA increases, insurance, as well as retirement, state retirement.
That's correct.
And that would cover it.
Right.
That's good. I like that.
Or just benefits, the increase
Or
in benefits.
Sure, absolutely.
get that.
And I'm
Okay.
okay with that.
Anything they'll agree to, I'll bring to you or whatever. I mean, or anything we want, I'll present to them, and we'll just wait on them to agree to it if that's what they want to.
Okay.
Okay.
We're good on the hard numbers, just the escalating cost over the next few years. And if they want to go, in other words, I think we were okay at 2 years eating that cost, whatever it was. But if they want to go to 5, we got to have some type of clause in there.
And I
Okay.
believe there's, and I was speaking out of turn, Katie can probably help me. I think they actually, the telecommunicators get an increase after there have been a telecommunicator after so many years. Is it 5 years? Okay, so it's just depending on who it is, they may get an increase based on their experience. Yeah, so we may wanna factor that in too if they are promoted to a senior teller. Or a senior teller can't be one of the 2 people.
Yeah. I think, the sheriff, you,
Only thing I would ask if, the contract was approved both from the county and the city, the way it's been drafted now, that, human resources come up with a position number for each employee at 911, so the city will know which position number they're funding, the county will know which position number they're funding, and so if we lose a telecommunicator, then we can, show that their contract's been fulfilled by their position numbers.
okay. So, Mr. Forbes, you've got the information to present to them as far as some type of escalating clause if they want to go 5. If they want to stay at 2 years, we're good at the 145.
I'll be fine.
That consensus of the board does? Okay.
2 is fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, and I'll speak with, Attorney Bates when he gets through that mediation. We plan on talking this afternoon anyway.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Moving on, item 7, consideration of 12% water and sewer rate increase.
I'll be the dirty dog that recommends it. As you know, I've talked to you about, we've had several studies done with our contract engineers, Hayes and Sawyer, and we also know that, and Miss Borgia can affirm this, is we can only right now apply for about 25% of the available grants and so forth the state offers because of our rates, which were not increased for about 10 years prior to my time. Since I came back on September the 9th of 2022, thanks to the commissioners that were on board at that time, we have raised the rates the first year by 7% for water and sewer, and then we did them by 11%, and now I'm recommending 12% in order for us to play catch up, because we have to play catch up in order to sustain the system, as some commissioners have already talked about this morning. And we're still very, very low. Matter of fact, our contract engineers, when they did a study, and they did recommend it, and this recommendation, I actually made the recommendation to the board prior to getting that study, fits well within the confines of it. Now, what limits us is a contract that Mr. Forbes may want to address with the town of Waitsboro, which says that we can only go up, but they said by CPI times 250. Which is 2.5%. You can do 12% this year, and that's what I'm recommending. And I have already towns that were of the fund. It was discussed here. I was here, which was 7%. Last year we did 11. District clerks have received a letter from me.
Facilities, a water facility, and if we don't do that, we're not going to have a facility water. There will be some people that some fixed incomes that
Minimum bill is like $17. So to your sense, one, there's a problem with the LGC. The utility committee, we're not eligible to receive grants because we don't invest in ourselves. We're a product losing money, so why would they invest in our business? I know the $2 could that's going to be a lot of money on someone with fixed income on a minimum bill, but I just think we have to invest in it to open the door for other possibilities for funding later on.
The other, not necessarily concern, but our rate study says it should be 15%. So these are studies that we were given the LGC. So we're not really implementing what the study says it should be. So we may need to consider if we can renegotiate.
That's what I was going to say. We're hamstrung by the contract with the town of Wadesboro. We can't even do what the LGC is, or the rate study is telling us to do.
So we may want to look and see if Attorney Ford we can renegotiate
And what I'd like to suggest is that you authorize staff, which would include our county attorney as well as probably some of our planning staff, and Ms. Borgia and me, to take a look at a system improvement fee, if you will. Some folks are going to tell you it's an impact fee. Impact fees in North Carolina are illegal. What we'd have to look at is what it's going to cost us over the next few years, factor in what those costs are, and then do a system impact fee for different folks. Now, that's something we need to discuss. It's done in other counties and cities in the state of North Carolina as well as around the country, but that's something that you can think about. You don't have to make a decision today, but that's something that could help us, and particularly when we're selling water and sewer services outside of the county of Anson.
And also, I just want to make it clear for the citizens that's listening that yes, our basic water bill is $17. If we go up to $2.05 or whatever this year, it makes it $19 and something. But just because these municipalities are selling water at $100 or $115 to their citizens, people want to blame the county, and the county's not charging that much. Whatever they implement their fee for water and sewer that they sell to their customers doesn't have an effect on the county. But people are complaining about that. Because, like, I guess you wouldn't be in Liesville, but the ones in Liesville or Wadesboro, Polkton, they have their own rates from what we're charging, just $17 to $19.
And the reason for that is because they have their own infrastructure that they have to upkeep and maintain. They have their employees that they have to pay. So, yeah, I don't expect the municipality to buy it at one rate and sell it at the same rate. Right. But you're right. It's not our fault that municipalities charge more. I mean, that's their decision.
A lot of citizens want to blame us for it.
They're following their rate studies. That's right. So we're not able to follow our rate study.
It's sort of kinda just how the cookie crumble.
Yep.
It's not our fault, but it is our fault because we got to go up. We've got to go up, so they've got to go up. So it's just a domino effect, we'll say.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The county's been undercharging water for years.
Yes.
So we're trying to catch up now.
You're correct.
So 12% increase might sound like a lot, but efficient.
Well, I have a septic facility, but I have water and I have trash collection. The first year, which was 2 years ago when I lived in that, it's like almost $60 now. I don't have 15 people living in the house. It's just 2 of us. So I've done the math. So that's not a 7%. It's not an 11%. It's not even a 12% increase. That's like triple as far as I can see. So I don't understand it. And just like my commissioner said here, my Duke Energy bill is less than my bill to the city.
My water bill is about $22 a month out in the county.
Yep. I will confirm that if we don't make the investments in our water department, we're going to have to source the county. So we have to invest in our own infrastructure. All right, so do you need a motion to approve that tonight or today?
If you would, please, or if I just get it by affirmation, then we'll put it in the budget, because you'll have to approve the budget. And as a reminder, the budget will not just be revenues and expenditures, it will also be your fee.
15% though.
Hazen and Sawyer who recommended the rate study.
Okay.
How long is this contract with Wadesboro?
How long? God, it goes to, I think, another 15 years, if I remember right.
With for water? For water.
It's a long-term contract.
Okay. But I guess at this time I'll entertain a motion to give the approval for the 12% raise.
Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Leary, Commissioner Gatewood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Any other discussion on that after the motion?
I'm good with that one, sir.
Okay. All right, moving on. Discussion, consideration of action for the remaining ACTS grants fund. So Anson County Transportation System Fund.
And we have Ms. Bird here, as well as obviously our finance director, and there are monies left over. And this, if I remember right, requires a 25% match?
It's
20, okay. So if we've got, I think we've got somewhere $900 to $1 million left over, Tanya?
It is $1,143,600.
Okay.
And we have until
So we have to the end of this year to spend those funds.
Ms. Bird, would you come to the podium, please, and explain the proposal for those funds?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, the county manager and Mr. Gatewood and J.D. Bricken and Mr. Jarvis Woodburn, we all met, got the committee together, and we met over at Axe to decide how we was going to spend the remaining funds for the facility, since we had quite a good bit left over. We have come to the agreement for a bus van wash. I do not have the numbers for everything with me today, but I think that was around $650,000. That was the big ticket on that. It was a two-way entry to come into the Axe building instead of having to circle around behind the annex. It was a storage building to put out by the van parking area, so we could put the everything that we have to keep for the 7 years out there and not have to keep it in the new facility where we are at currently for the office staff. And that way we could keep the extra windshield wipers, the oil, antifreeze, all that stuff that they have to use, so they don't have to walk from the shed all the way back to the office to get that and then go back to put it in if they need that in the mornings. We were also going to add a handicap entrance there at the front door, so if someone would come up in a wheelchair, they were able to hit the button and the door would open. And so, because we don't have that right now, I thought that was already in the plan when we had originally done that, but it was not. We're also going to add a safe in Ashley's office to keep the funds in overnight instead of just locking it up in a money box and then locking it in her desk drawer. But that's also going to add blinds to all the windows in the offices except for the very front. And it's going to add more security. We're going to have a 5-camera system inside the offices except for, well, down the hall in the driver's lounge in the front area, so that way we can I'll have access to that as separate from the IT. And we're also going to add a picnic area for the staff to take their lunches and breaks on. So that comes right out to $1.1 million, I think, for everything. Like I said, I don't have the exact number with me today, but it is around $1.1 million.
The cost to us is 238. That's
228.
$228,000.
$723.
Okay.
Remind me.
If you spend the entire $1 million and change that Ms. Bird brought up.
Yes.
And that's why
It's
we
only 20% of whatever is spent
Okay.
for the county.
Okay. And so what you're saying it would take would be a little over $1 million.
Yes. So just say if you decided if you wanted to spend some of it, so you just want to do the bus and van wash, it's only going to be 20% of whatever that costs. If you decide you want to do the safe and the blinds, it's only going to be 20% of what that costs. Or, you know, if you don't choose to do any of it, then it's not going to be any cost to the county.
Remind me how many years this equipment has to be solely used for Axe?
40.
40 years. I thought it was a very long time. Okay.
And when do these funds expire?
December 31st of 2025. They will be returned back, and North Carolina can't use it at all.
Because these are federal funds, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Ms. Bird, what is the risk of the county deciding to do all or a portion of these items, and all of a sudden the funds are frozen and the expense is our responsibility? What is the risk of that happening?
I do not know.
The best I can tell you is right now we got a brick grant building resiliency in communities back in end of 22, and also we were currently working on a brick 25 for water infrastructure, and it's our understanding right now both are in limbo, being frozen. And I have sent out communications to find out, are they or are they not? And so we're still waiting on that answer. And so I'm not sure, like Ms. Bird said, right now it's up in the air. We just don't know.
So if a project was started, could they just freeze it and stop it mid the process, or?
It depends.
I mean, is that a possibility? Let's say if we hypothetically agreed to, do the whole project, 20% of that 1.1 million or whatever, and once this project got started, is it a potential risk that it could, during the process, be held up?
The funds were froze for a little while. Since then, it has been opened up for us to use those funds again. As the project went along, as soon as I got an invoice, I did file those claims as soon as I got it in my hands, because I didn't want that to happen. So everything that has been done so far, the county has received those funds for the reimbursement. So I didn't let it sit around. So I tried to get that as soon as I had it in my hands.
So the funds are in our possession now, I guess, or
The county does have to pay
right
up front.
Right.
And then as soon as I get those invoices, I file that
question.
claim.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
they send us, I guess a wire transfer or something to Holly.
Okay.
I was on the call, Commissioner, 2 weeks ago, because all this stuff is obviously moving forward. And the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that has about 25% of its annual budget right now being frozen because of the what's happening in Washington, D.C. And that's affecting, I know one of the housing projects as well as their transportation. And of course they have a transportation system different from what we have with our ACS facilities. And they've been in that business a lot longer because of the size of the city. But right now they're scratching their head trying to figure out how they're going to fund all of it. And that came from their city manager.
Maintenance consideration of this car wash.
I'm pretty sure that David told us, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sussman, but I'm pretty sure he told us it was around $4,200 a year.
I think that's right, yeah.
And that was what the maintenance on the car wash?
And that included the soap and the wax and everything that goes in it. And and being the only transportation can use it because it's a federal grant for transit only, that includes, it's going to be like a kind of like the toll roads with the
It'll have an RFID thing.
Yeah, the tags. So we'll get 100 of those up front, and then that'll include the annual fee for that as well, in that $4,200.
And all of these projects have already been approved by state DOT. We had a conference call with them on video, but this was before the election, and they were very supportive and encouraged us to please proceed if at all possible. And at that point in time, we said, yeah, we're going to do this because it's a great deal for the county. But things have changed quite a bit.
And while we were waiting on everything, I've already done all my procurement process and everything with them, so all of that has already been done and approved. So all that's.
Do you know what you're currently paying in, I guess, vehicle washes? Do you know what that is yearly?
I think I pay him $1,200 a month.
Do you pay $1,200 a month currently now?
Yes.
Okay.
And how many vehicles is that?
15. He washes them twice a month. And then if they're really bad, my drivers, they'll wash it because they don't want to, or some of them do.
Sounds like something that could be a really good thing for our X department. But I guess
Oh, it's an excellent deal.
Yeah.
If
It's
we
just-
can afford to do it.
We have to pay for the $228,000, and to your question, where does that come from?
Fund balance.
You know, if it was my money, I'd forego the van wash because this is a big ticket item. It's like $600,000. But the other items are really critical in my view, and if at all possible, we need to proceed. But I understand the budgetary constraints we're working
So
on.
that'll bring us down to what, about $400,000?
No, the county's portion would be.
I mean, I'm just saying the total expense, and then 20% of that.
We're rounding off to $500,000.
Yeah.
So it'll bring
$100,000.
down to $100,000.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation today, based on what I know.
And I understand completely if, we can't do any of it, but I wanted to
What part are you talking about in your
present
$500,000?
everything. Yes.
Everything but the car.
Everything except the van wash.
Okay.
So, you,
But we pay what, 12, we're paying 12,000 plus another
The van wash is I think it was 650,000.
you're paying a man $1,200 a month.
14,000
Wash
a
vehicles?
year.
Do you remember what I submitted? By chance? I think it's 1,200 a month.
Cause that's 14,400.
Yeah.
Subtract out the maintenance, that's 10,000 a year. If we upfront $120,000 over the cost of 12 years, that would be paid for itself if you took out that $14,400 you're paying somebody to wash vehicles. Head math, may be wrong.
Yeah. So the car wash would you still have to hire somebody to operate it? Or you just a drive-through?
Automatic drive-through
It's
car wash.
automatic drive-through.
It's a huge ticket item.
But it's the only thing.
$1,200 a month is
It's the only thing that pays itself.
over 12 years.
A driveway is not going to pay itself back. And the way I look at this, the ACTS facility, the ACTS program is, and I don't want to screw this up, but it's a taxi. It provides transportation for the citizens of the county. So what's the most important asset of that group, of that company? The van itself. That's what transports someone. So we want that product looking the best it can look on the road, because that's what's representing Anson County when they see that bus. When they see that bus, they don't think of Miss Bird. They don't think of us. They think of Anson County. So if we're not putting a presentable product on the road, we're not presenting a very positive image for Anson County. That's why I think the car wash is the thing that pays back more than anything. That's what's going to present the best product of Anson County, is making those vans look the best they can by having a clean vehicle.
I think the amount on the two-way entry was 200,000 or 250,000, but I'm not. It was somewhere in that ballpark.
That was it.
And that's just a separate entrance straight to the ACTS facility instead of having to enter around the annex now.
Yes.
But there currently is access to that facility now.
Well, we have our finance person here. Ms. Berry, what is your opinion?
Because we committed to the grant, I've already put the match aside. It's already allocated. What will happen if we do not approve it, it will go back to our fund balance, the $200-something thousand, which would help us.
So we've already got the hand slapping from the LGC for that being set aside.
That being said, we need to go forward with the full.
I understand.
We really need to go forward with the full program.
I make a motion that we.
And I second that motion.
Okay. All right, so let me declare. So the motion is
Make a motion that we fund the 20% of the proposal Ms. Bird has
of the
presented.
total
us.
project.
Total project,
Okay.
yes, the total, yeah.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ellaby, second by Commissioner Gatewood to fund Ms. Bird's proposals in its entirety. Any other discussion on that proposal? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bird.
Have a great one.
All right. Moving on, item 9, discussion of the Anson Rescue Squad contract. I had that included in here because obviously it's going to have some financial implications going forward. as you recall back, I guess this was back in the summer, maybe sometime, Anson Rescue came before us requesting some additional funds. That we decided not to invest those funds with Anson Rescue and instead invested in their own county. Their contract expires June of this year, and so we currently fund them at $64,000 a year through June 30th. Looking forward, I just needed to know what to include into the budget for this this organization.
So, did they get paid 64 up front for this year?
Miss Berry, I'm not sure how they're paid as far as
Yes.
quarterly or I don't.
They get paid quarterly.
I'll make a motion that we continue with the $64,000 for this coming budget year.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion. We'll go ahead. We have a motion by Mr. Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims, to continue funding Anson Rescue at $64,000 a year. Is there any other discussion on that?
Just for the funding, but not to adhere to this contract, because the contract is not being followed.
Yeah. So they basically, there was technically never another contract written. They just acknowledged they couldn't meet this contract. They're not providing the ambulance 24/7 like the contract calls for.
The whole purpose we gave them additional money was because of the ambulance services. So.
But they still going on
I mean,
standby.
given the equity amongst all the fire departments, we
But-
continue to give them 64,000.
They don't get any fire tax. The rescue doesn't get any fire tax. We don't have a rescue tax in the county. So they don't get the funding like the other fire departments. I know they are not a fire department, they're a rescue squad. And I'm not against them funding them money. I guess just going by the contract, line 1, the contract should provide the county with weekly ambulance service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, responding to approximately every third ambulance call. I just want to make sure this contract's going to go away to an extent. Like, they'll provide rescue services, they'll provide an ambulance for standby if the county needs it, things of that nature.
Yeah.
The wording in this contract is.
I guess we have to amend their contract.
Let me ask you, I don't know. Are they still needed?
Yes.
Are they? Okay. I'm just curious.
They still provide an ambulance as a backup or as needed. They just don't run one 24/7 as their contract called for previously.
Mr. Chairman, my motion still stands.
Yeah.
If I was gonna say, if the board decides to fund them 64,000, and that's the board's decision, then Mr. Forbes probably should rewrite the contract to address, because it's like he said before when we talked about other things that Waitsboro downtown or uptown or some of these others are doing to contribute them. I'm not sure if they're I guess they're still technically a non-profit entity, so we need to have a contract with them of some sorts that would say these are the services that you will do, even though there's only if it's only 3 lines, whatever it is for 64,000.
Okay. So.
I guess that's what I was getting at too. Amend the contract, make the contract for the services that they can render to the county on a volunteer basis.
Yeah, because
their volunteer service. But write out the services that they can provide to the county in exchange for the 64,000.
Okay.
And that it will be reviewed annually.
Okay. So would you like to amend the motion to offer the 64,000 once the new contract is
So moved.
implemented? Okay. So, all right. So a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims, to continue with the $64,000 contingent on a new contract being agreed to. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. I think that concludes our open session. We do have a couple items to discuss in closed session. So this time I'll entertain a motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Mims, Commissioner Little, everybody. So all in favor say aye. Thank you.
Regular schedule.
Can we get?
Okay.
Make a motion that we come back into session.
All right. Have a motion to enter back into public session.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Gatewood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. At this time, is there any other business to conduct?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the incentive program for halal meat.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ellerby to approve the incentive proposal for halal meat. We have a second by Commissioner Gatewood. Is there any discussion on that incentive program? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. This time, any other?
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ellerby to adjourn, second by Commissioner Little Reed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, any opposed? Thank you.